microphones on. Okay, this is the city commission work session meeting for Thursday, May the 26th at 5:10, a little bit after 5. Roll call, please.
Mayor Litchfield,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Moya.
Here.
Commissioner Penrose.
Here.
Commissioner Rice.
Here.
Commissioner Cherry.
Here.
Okay, first thing on the agenda is discussion of the interim city manager contract.
Yes, ma'am, you asked me to put this on the agenda, and I will turn it over to you. I think you said maybe Mayor Pro Tem Moya wanted to discuss that as well.
Yeah, the question I had was, we kind of been just floating around. We really haven't discussed what our intentions are, whether we are going to keep the present city manager in temporary position until the final selection of a city manager, or are we going to look at interim city manager or what? We need to kind of more or less be defined, because on the 22nd was his last day on the resignation, and yet we have not really acted on any of the above. So we need to know what is the situation that we're looking at, and are we going to stay with the salary? Are we going to go up on the salary? All that stuff that is a necessity in doing business to make sure that we go forward, because we really need to. The person under the commission is a person that we really need to be very strong in making sure that we provide that leadership, because of the fact is that we're looking at the fact of a city that is doing well, and we certainly want to go in the same direction. So I wanted to get it put before the commission so that we can have an operational definition of what is the intent of the commission on the governing body, and it's open for discussion.
Okay. Commissioner Arias, did you want to say something?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I had assumed, but I'd assumed Mark would fill in the interim until we found a new candidate to move forward with. As far as salary, I think in the terms of he's still performing in those duties, remaining the salary as it was.
One of the reasons I don't like to assume anymore, because when you assume, you leave everything in limbo. And it's not fair to Mark either, because even if, let's say Mark doesn't want to do it and all that, and we just assume it and just do it, and yet we're the ones responsible for the governing leadership.
Mike? Commissioner?
The current contract that he has, he's exercised his right to go back to assistant city manager.
That's
Right.
As of March
And,
24th was the last day, this Tuesday.
But if we keep him on,
And lack of a manager,
right,
the assistant city manager assumes that position.
Mhm.
So that's chain of command.
Right.
Okay, so now then, probably what we need to discuss also is, carrying forward with the same salary that he had been receiving
Mhm.
or whatever as manager, and look at that again in the budget come July 1st, because that probably needs to change.
I agree, yeah. So to remind the commission, actually as interim city manager the last time around, I actually made more money than I was as city manager previously, most recently before the 24th. So my request would actually be for an increase in pay, since I'm still doing city manager and assistant city manager. That's 2 jobs. The salary I was making currently was just as city manager. Now that it's interim, I think it's clear if I do that, then it's holding down 2 positions. So I think that I prove myself what I'm worth. I think in the 2 years, not quite 2 years, I was interim city manager for a portion of that, and then actual city manager. I think it's shown where we've done good with the budget. It's improved each year. It's not where it needs to go, but we're making improvements. We've also had the clean audits, and again, that's not all to me. I think it's management, but it's also the right people in the right places and implementing things that have been successful. So I feel if I'm going to continue this role, which I've stated I had previously, I'm willing to step up to get this position filled, or until the city commission chooses to go another route. But I'd like to see some more money for having to do both.
Okay, first of all, we didn't have an assistant city manager, so really, right now, we didn't have an assistant city manager, we just had a manager without an assistant. So actually, you're still doing one job until we hire the other person, then we have the creating of the second role, which is the assistant city manager. So you'll be doing exactly what you were doing prior to stepping down, you see what I'm saying? Because we really didn't have an assistant city manager.
Commissioner Villanueva, you have anything to say?
The only thing I want to ask is how much more do you think we
Right.
need to pay him because he's doing a good job now?
Mhm. So what was your thinking on the,
I was thinking, close to 10% more than what I was making now,
$8,000 more?
more or less, yes.
Yeah, $8,000 more.
I was about-
22, or 10, almost within.
I was about 81.6, I believe, of what I was at now. So 10% would be 81.60 on top of that.
And then after you fall into the city manager, assistant city manager, your pay goes down.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, it
And
grew
that's
all
in
the
a total different scale.
correct.
Yeah, it's close to 10,000 benefits and everything.
Commissioner Arias, did you have something else to say?
That was my question.
Oh, okay, okay.
And we really have to consider this, are we happy what's going on in City Hall? Are we happy with waste management? Because this is the time the commission, the governing body to make a decision whether they want to do an internship. Just because he's assistant city manager doesn't mean it's chain of command. It's up to the commission to decide if they want to bring in an intern at this period of time. It is up to our decision, and he then goes back to assistant city manager. So what I'm saying is, if your guys are happy and satisfied with it, I don't see no problem. But I want to hear that support, you know what I mean, that you're okay with it, I don't want to hear, sometimes I hear things that they're not happening in many ways. So this is your time to decide, do we want to keep him as the manager? And if we do, let's go for it. And if we don't, then what is the next alternative?
Anyone want to comment on that?
Well, I believe in the last, thank you, Mayor. I think in the last round when we were looking, I had advocated for us to search for a professional interim city manager. That would require some type of commitment with them, and with the intent with that would be to kind of clean house, fix the issues that we've noted for some time and allow that opportunity to do it, to then make ourselves more attractive to the higher geared manager we're looking for. Not saying Mark didn't do it, not saying Mark did anything bad, but I believe there are some issues that need to be handled with someone with more of a timetable to get it fixed. A fixer is what I'm looking for. I would definitely be interested in something in that case if we're gonna do that. I was waiting until we moved a little bit further in the process, but I will go ahead and state that today. I do believe Mark could serve in the interim. He's obviously done it before, but a professional interim city manager come in and clean up. Yeah, that's something I'd be interested in seeing.
Commissioner Cherry?
I didn't understand what Ralph said. You want to keep him as interim.
Well, I don't have no qualm keeping him as interim. I'll be the first one to tell you. But I also want the commission to be more defined in defining that he will be the interim, and if we need to bring in something else different, then we need to express it now, or stay behind and support it, either way. Because I heard a lot of comments, and from my own constituents, on some unsatisfied areas that they've been not very happy with, and so that's why I wanted to put today, so that we can clarify it, because I like this city to be united and be very, go forward, and I feel uncomfortable because we feel things are not being done.
I still don't understand. So what we're talking about is giving you a contract as interim city manager again.
Which previously, we never even had contracts for interim, it was just pretty much assumed. But there was incentive for doing the two positions, there was a pay increase for doing that. I have no issues if the commission chose to have me just stay assistant city manager, that's not gonna hurt my feelings at all, but who are you gonna have take lead of the city until you find an interim?
Right.
We're currently searching for a city manager, so you're gonna go search for an interim city manager before you get a city manager?
No, well, we've already advertised for a city manager.
Correct.
Yeah,
I think
we're
that's what
gonna
we
work
signed.
on that. We have one.
And so we've advertised, it's gonna be a while before we can interview and choose a manager. And so we need to have a contract, yes, for the interim city manager until we find a manager.
Right.
Now then, remuneration or whatever, yes, it needs to be remunerated fairly. I will say this though, we do need somebody to help Mark or a manager. And because there is a lot of problems.
And there is, and that's why I was, as you recall, in several meetings, I always pushed for an assistant city manager. Because I felt that at the time, Mark was falling short due to the fact of the over amount of duties he had. And it was reflecting on the personnel of the city, and they themselves, you could hear the rumblings about it, And then what happens is, I still hear some rumblings, but hopefully we can now bring it to a closer.
Well, and I think standing up for myself at this point, I think whether it's myself or even somebody with 10, 15 years experience, the span of control of 19 departments for one person is not realistic.
Exactly.
And we did that, and you fought us in getting assistant city manager for the longest time, and you know that.
I never fought anybody.
Yes, we did. We brought it on, how many times? Over a year or more. And you said there was no need, because we did not dump on you. We worked hard to get you an assistant. And Bruce, and you're my witness, we brought it up on the
Right.
several times, so.
Did you have a sample contract?
I do not, like I said, I did not ask for this agenda item, so I didn't have a contract. I put it on the
So if
agenda.
we're gonna talk about this, our next budget workshop or whatever would be a perfect time, especially when we're talking about maybe trying to take care of the employees and all, perfect time, see what we have. And, I'm all for you giving him a contract, he needs to be protected.
I don't see a problem at all.
Is it a 10% increase is what you're seeking?
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Commissioner Villanueva, do you have anything you want to add?
Not really.
Like you said, there's been problems, we all know there has been, but I think if we keep Mark until we can find a permanent city manager, Mark at least knows what's going on right now.
That's correct.
In the nebulous, so
Yeah.
I think that would be important.
And so in doing that, look at doing a resolution, maybe, we can discuss this further, that the assistant city manager down the road will receive a percentage of what the manager does instead of the set.
Well, a lot of
You
it,
see what I'm getting at?
As far as job description, like
In your job description or whatever as an assistant manager.
and also,
How much less were you making than the manager before?
before about, in the ballpark of about 12,000 per year,
Which was,
70,000.
Yeah.
Give or take a little bit based on cost of living increase,
so 15% less or something like that?
somewhere in that area.
also would like to see that when we do hire a city manager or any in that way, I'd like to see that, anybody can go back to the way we work or department heads work at will, some of them, when we do another contract. Because when we have problems and we don't have them, or they're not exempt, it creates problems in trying to manage the city as well as that whatever department is having disruptions. Because when you have them, that they're exempt, they're not exempt, it's a contract that we can call it quits, we just pay off. It's a lot easier to manage than when they're a regular employee.
Yeah, there's a little bit of difference in exempt and at will.
Yeah.
Exempt is an
Yeah,
FLA.
I mean, I missed it the wrong word, but I know what it is.
And so do we have department heads that are not at will?
Yeah, we do. When I saw some of the contracts.
The only department heads that are at will, I believe, at this point is, I think, the fire chief. everything else. So that's one thing that I feel we don't focus on enough. We get caught up on concerns and complaints and things that happen now and again, but I think we have to take a step back and realize the purpose of the commission as well is adopting and passing policy and resolutions, ordinances. And some things are so outdated, we need to spruce those up. So long story short, what I'm getting at is, at one point, yes, the police chief, a lot of the different departments were at will, but an ordinance was repealed and never replaced. So at the time, I think the intent was to repeal and replace, but the verbiage wasn't presented appropriately, in my opinion. And there's so many
So this
different,
commission passed an ordinance?
No.
not this specific commission, but years back, they repealed an ordinance that threw that all out the window.
Oh, I see, okay.
So now everybody else is protected at this point. And then I don't
In your
know,
free time, let's look at correcting that.
Well, actually,
well, and it's not just this, it's that one ordinance that got repealed affected everything from planning and zoning, everything. There's a lot of things that we need to bring back into place. It's gonna come back and bite us someday. And I don't want that to happen. And part of that was the employee status, whether they're at will or not. I agree with that, but at the same time, there's processes in place, there's different laws, there's some things that, I don't know, I'd have to do some research in all honesty. I think the employees that are already in that status would be grandfathered in. I don't think you can go tell now, all of a sudden now you're on contract. If we don't like you, you're gonna go, which personnel anyway is up to the city manager.
You just mentioned something. Do we have employees under contract?
We do not.
Okay.
the thing that you have to look at is the fact is that another thing that we're always weak in, and this is important now that we're talking about, we never have the good legal counsel that we need as a governing body. And that really sometimes really makes me uncomfortable in some of the decisions, you know what I'm saying? I deal with a lot of legal issues and sometimes it's amazing to see some of the things that we do not come down to being very strong about. So we need to make sure that we get an attorney or something that when we're dealing with this type of personnel, like especially like that ordinance that was pulled out, that we utilize the legal system. It might cost us some more, but it also helps us on the long run.
So when we get into budget, we can look at this, but all of your department heads are FLS, that is exempt, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So those are the things. So anyway, getting back to the commission, if we're interested in keeping Mark, we need to issue him a contract until the day we hire somebody. You know what I mean? Because the last time we hired people and some didn't come, and then after we found out some backgrounds, we didn't want them.
So he's gonna do that?
Yeah, but we have to have it in a contract, and
Right.
when it ends, it ends. You know, when the commission makes the decision to hire the city manager, then his contract expires, whether it be the other city manager has to give a notice on the other place, or he's not working once come on board. But that's how we have to have the contract written, so that when
I think we all agree.
yeah, and we should go forward, but we need to have more stability in making sure and understanding where we're at with the city part. Okay.
June 24th.
We still got a whole month.
I hope we get,
Has there been any more applicants?
Just the one y'all had already received.
All right, and you know, and if we want to, I think we ought to look and see if we can start interviewing before June 24th. We don't have to wait till June 24th to do interviews. No. You can apply June the 22nd and we still give you an interview because we didn't close it. We don't promise anybody a job.
You can do interviews, you just have to keep, since we said it's open till the 24th, anybody that applies up to that point
We'll have to do that.
would have to be considered for interview as well.
all right, discussion, next is discussion of the public pool. I understand we found some money to help with that.
We've had it there, we just, again, it was based on what the commission wanted to do with those funds. As described on our special meeting, when we did our third quarter actuals, we were at 91% revenue instead of, which you typically expect 75% for the third quarter. So we are gonna have some funds available at the end of the year to consider utilizing for the pool if we'd like. I've had the Parks and Rec director reaching out to different pool companies to try to get them on site to do an assessment. The previous assessment they had done was a couple years old, so we need to just see where we're at. One company is willing to come in and do it for free. The other companies are wanting to charge for their gas and time to come down here to assess the pool, which I don't blame them. I'm willing to pay to do that. But the one guy that's willing to do it for free is the same one that gave us the update last time and stated it could be anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 just to replaster the pool. That's not taking into consideration any leaks that might be creating issues. So I have an email here that has multiple companies. The Moss reached out to people in Albuquerque. He reached out to people in Lubbock and Amarillo, multiple in Albuquerque. And again, they are busy right now because it's pool season. They're getting everything kick-started in other locations. So those other companies may not be able to be here until a month or two later down the road. Again, it may not be feasible. We may not be able to. I just want to reach out to the commission and let them know there are some options. If they wanted to utilize those funds, we'll have funds available. We are potentially able to fix the pool. That's the quickest turnaround.
Permanently fix or Band-Aid fix?
Permanently fixed. I mean, I can't guarantee how long it's to be. I'm sure there's some kind of warranty that comes along with it, but it's not going to be a new pool. It's going to be fixing the existing. A new pool is going to be quite lengthy. If we were to go with the bond option, realistically, if we're looking for a quick turnaround to get this open for the youth, the best route is going to be fixing it. If we're looking at best long-term goals, then we probably won't see a new pool for 5 to 10 years if we go a bond route. One of the pool companies stated that they did the same thing in Ruidoso, and it was expensive. It's not quick. You have to go through the process. The process to get that all situated could be 2 to 3 years. And then
For a bond.
And then you're looking at another, depending who's willing to bid and how prices come in, another year to two, maybe, depending what we want to do as far as the pool. Are you wanting an indoor pool? One of the things that I was saving, because I don't like to build up expectations and I like to stay confidential with things until it's ready to go out to the public. However, Clara Ray approached me the other day, about 2 weeks ago, and there's a lot of federal funding that's available for seniors. A lot of these grant applications are asking, is this a multi-generational facility? Usually we click no because we're either doing something specific for one or the other. But she had a great idea and we brainstormed, what if we did have a multi-generational facility? What if we built a brand new senior center and recreation center that had an indoor pool, Olympic-sized pool, partner with Maceland, maybe with the community college or the public schools? Maybe that's feasible. It's going to be expensive. And again, though, that's not a short-term fix. That's going to be something, again, 5 to 10 years by the time you get everything done, planning, design, engineering. It's not going to be cheap. But that's something to consider. So again, I was asked to put this item on the agenda. I wanted to hear what Mayor Pro Tem Moya had to say about it. But those are kind of the options and the latest and greatest that have happened just within the last 2 weeks.
So the guy that said we just have to pay, or the company that said we'd have to pay their gas and stuff, are they willing to come and do the assessment?
Yes, 100%. We'd have to pay, not just gas, but I mean, they bill us for their time and for travel and whatnot. They're willing to do it, but they are not available for at least a month or two because they are working on these pools. The guy from Albuquerque is willing to do it, but he's the one that gave us the high quote the last time. So I want to test the waters. I want to see what the other companies have to say.
Right.
Could the rehabilitation be considered for use as a multi-generational facility?
I do not believe so. The grants we were talking about specifically are for new builds, not the existing facilities.
Actually, well, we have to look at it, and this is where I wanted to visit the commission on. I like to see, I like to see this problem solved. I think, when was the last time you guys had to close it and then re-renovate it?
It was
2006.
renovated in 2006 was the last time.
Yeah, because they had a leak, right?
The big renovation, there's been repairs now and again throughout the years with pumps freezing and issues and leaks and whatnot, just typical maintenance, but a complete overhaul was 2006.
And I think this is perfect time for us to examine and see what is it we want, what kind of a pool it is, because of the fact is, I'd like to see a good pool that would be permanent and not have to come back and redo. We're still owe 60,000 from the last, that's a lot of money still. The other thing is, if you look at it now, you also look at the fact is we can explore different avenues like the senior citizen. Maybe we can combine the senior citizen with the larger stacks, or if we can use it as some sort of a widget or site to attract other types of people in there for the, and I noticed that if we do that with bringing in like a widget or anything like that, I know the one in San Jose is hugely popular. I have a house 2 blocks away and you can hear it all night if you don't watch it. And so we can explore that, because if we also can utilize it with some sort of with it, some sort of a senior, for the senior part, and also other avenues where we can attract maybe some of the tourists that might come into the Tucumcari, like they do in Santa Rosa. We can then look at the possibility of utilizing some of the larger stacks of money. Don't forget, we just finished paying, we don't have the $150,000 payment a year anymore on the convention center. We paid that completely off. So now there's another avenue that we can look at for building a nice, good recreational pool. And that we can not only benefit only our adolescents, but also, or our children, but also our senior citizens and others, that we can, even if we can utilize it with tourism dollars to help us pay for it or another grant, that'll be ideal. We have to explore these type of things, because even the $250,000 is great, but that's just patching it. I don't know what's gonna happen, because that thing has been leaking like mad all the time. I don't know how many gallons was it losing per day when it was that way it is.
I don't remember exactly, I know it was a lot, it was thousands of gallons.
Yeah, because then you look at, we live in a very sandy type of soil. Are we having a sinkhole down there or what? You know what I mean? And we gotta be careful we don't continue to do that, because then we contaminate the water table. But all in all, we have to look and see what is it that we can explore and what's in the best interest, not only for the youth in town, but also for other uses.
Well, what if I know it's a patch, but at least it'd get it to where maybe the kids that have a pool this summer, and then look at the grant with the senior citizens.
You can't get it this
Not this
summer.
No, we're talking earliest maybe 2023.
Even with the patch.
Yeah.
And that's an expensive patch.
Oh.
Yeah, it is
All
very
right.
expensive. And I'd like to see more of a permanent.
Well, yeah, me too, but I was just trying to see if there's something we could do
Right,
for them this
Yeah,
summer.
because people are really, they're up in arms about it. And
So we discussed this, my turn,
Right,
the last commission meeting. Let's see the options and see what they are.
right.
I still want to see what our bonding capacity is.
Yes.
And then, commissioners, you have options of what you want to look at, let's look at them. And then we can get a pool manufacturer to estimate how much it's going to cost for these different types of pools. But let's see the options and see where
And
we're
that's,
coming in on that.
and that's where we started. Like I said, we need some kind of an assessment to get a ballpark, because if we can't do it for where we think we have the funding through budget, then there's no need on wasting our time.
And these people coming down, they can tell you
Correct.
what a comparable pool is going to cost you or whatever. Or for any other type of pool that you want, they can give you a ballpark.
Yeah.
So let's look at that, options and all. But Mayor, I don't think there's any way. It'd be expensive to get it going this year, and that'd just be money.
Right.
And let's look at the other avenues that are available.
Right.
If can we use it for, if we can somehow or other get some of the tours and ribbon type thing, or some sort of a working pool, we can also utilize some of the larger stacks, and then we have other, if we can find grants or whatever. But we need to do something permanent, because, and if we can do something like that and get the referendum for a bond, that might be the best way. Because right now, to be honest with you, what little money we have, we also have a big problem in our back, and that is our potholes in this community. It is eating up our streets because we're not able to maintain it at the level.
Yeah, that's 2 more items down.
Yeah, did you put it on there?
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll talk about it then.
Yeah.
If I may, on the pool.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So-
Sorry. Let me pull my agenda out. Here it is. Yeah,
So Mark, if your idea works
Oh,
with the extra funds we're expecting, do those funds also take care of the 60,000 that's owed?
No.
So
That's
they take
separate.
care
We're
of
still gonna keep paying on that unless we choose as a commission per budget, say, hey, let's just pay that off.
Are we having to borrow anything in your plan, or is the repairs paid for outright?
Outright. So the other thing with this I want to bring up, this is a perfect time to bring up, that I brought this up before and previous city managers have, is strategic planning. I think it's hard for a manager to try to make a decision on what to do if there's no clear goals. It's, yes, let's do the pool, no, let's not do the pool, let's do the streets, let's do this. We're not going to be able to do everything. So I think we need to consider in the future a strategic plan to see what are the goals and the priorities of the city.
And we need to do that and tie it into the ICIP.
I
That's
agree.
exactly what the ICIP is for. Let's do that.
And I do agree with Commissioner Cherry here. Let's see the options, let's get going. I mean, so if it works and we can get the pool fixed and have it open for 2023, then let's fix it. But at the same time, following in with the options and visiting with
Different companies.
the company, not either with Mrs. Ray, and if she has the money at the bill, or if she knows where we can find the money. If it's still, if we can fix it, let's fix it. If we can continue with a more solid, long-term plan, let's still continue with that as well. If it's gonna be 5-10 years from now, then let's start that process now.
I agree, but where I was coming in with the strategic plan is because, say we want to move forward with that facility long-term. There's going to be matches with these grants. Are we wanting to put our match towards this facility, or is there other priorities with infrastructure, water, sewer, et cetera, that those are higher priority, we need to put the match towards those. So if we want to go all in, we can do that, but we need to make a decision as a commission, what are our goals and priorities for the future? Not just short-term, but long-term, 5-year goals, 10-year goals.
I agree, and that's gonna tie into some of his stuff that
Correct.
bring up.
and what we have to also look at the fact is, and this is important, what happens, we sometimes discuss things, but we don't get facts, like, I don't get no back information on how, what it would be, what is it we're gonna, how or when we can work, on what is the best solution for this pool, whether it be the referendum, whether it be patching it, whether it be where we're gonna come up with these type of funds.
Well, I think that's why we want to get the different
Yeah, but we don't get nothing feedback, it just limbos and it stays and
Yeah.
stays, and we never, and then we let it go, and before you realize it's another year, and people are coming before us saying, what are you doing?
So the current feedback, like I said, was from a phone call I had yesterday with the Parks and Recs director, and he said, we're looking, if it's just a plaster issue, $150,000, $200,000 just for plaster. That's if nothing else is wrong. I can guarantee you that's not all that is
Not
wrong.
if you're losing thousands of gallons a day.
But what I want to know is $150,000 high for plaster for that pool. Are these other companies willing to do it for cheaper? Is there other alternative solutions? That's what I want.
Right.
Do we have?
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. I'll just
All right.
wanted to give an update that we are reaching out to the vendors, the different people to come in, and I'm willing to pay them if it's a couple $100, get them out here to give us a quote and some assessments on this, something in paper I could take with me and say, yes, this is what's wrong, this is what you need to do. And from that point, you could build a bid list where with the bid, you're able to see your prices out there, what other companies are willing to do the job for.
Your batteries are fixing their dime there.
Mine are.
Hey, Mark, can you please clarify where this extra money is coming from, what revenue source?
So it's our overall projected revenue. I mean,
Okay.
we haven't earmarked it, it's just, there's funds available. It just depends what the commission wants to utilize those funds for. These are some of the same funds that they may want to put it towards the employees. We talked about the priorities in the work session prior. But yes, it's expected higher revenues.
Okay.
Being at 91% at our third quarter actuals, it's projecting more GRT from cannabis sales. There's money available to do this. We have cash reserve that we can utilize. There's options if this is a priority. I just wanted to put it out there that we have some assessments or planning on getting some assessments done of the pool. See what our options are. And it may not be feasible. We may do this and invest a couple $100 and realize we're wasting our time and wasting our money. Let's move on, and we either have to go out to bond, see our bonding capacity, or we hope and pray that we get grants and something passed down to build a new facility. But we are working on it.
Yeah, and we have to look at like I said, some options. Let's look at options. Options that we can do, some sort of a tourist thing that might be able to utilize some of the larger tax fund. Or if we can do if things don't work, let's get a referendum or the funding. What's making it hard is the fact is that we don't act on things sometimes and they just stay on and stale. So we need to do some sort of decision. And with Plaster, they're just losing thousands of gallons. You know, that's a sinkhole down there already because it's a sandy soil here. And so
And I'd hate to have a pool full of kids
going down.
going down.
Yeah. But all we know, that's more or less why I wanted to discuss it today. And thank you, Mayor.
Okay, next is discussion regarding the EDC contract. I think we do that tonight on our agenda. Yeah. Pat,
Yes, is this,
I believe it's on.
It's already on.
Yeah, it's on.
you hear me okay? All right.
Yes.
I provided 2 documents for you. One is a proposed contract. The proposed contract I provided for you is identical to the contract we had prior to this year. I know you had some concerns when we met last year to put together a contract. And I think that, we have addressed those concerns. We gave a pretty good report to you guys a couple of weeks ago. And you didn't have any questions on that presentation. But I think we've addressed those concerns. So I provided this contract to you for your consideration. The other document I provided to you is proposed plan of work going into this next year. And you can see that we're still going to focus on marketing Tucumcari to new businesses, to generating leads and identifying which of those leads are suitable for Tucumcari and responding to same. Supporting existing businesses, we've come a long way in terms of our roadmap to create bridges and the programs that are involved in it. Gave you a pretty extensive report on the Create Bridges project, and it's, I think if the local application of that Create Bridges roadmap to the community is going to provide some really strong support to existing businesses. And then the third issue, of course, is building capacity so that we can compete for those jobs. We have renewed our agreement with Global Site Location Industries that came due the 1st of May, and so we renewed that agreement at the end of April. So we're having them as a partner for the next year, and of course, working with Global Site Location Industries, we have access to the project portal. We have select Zoom calls with some of the businesses that are looking for a new home. And one of the things we haven't talked about really is that we do have a direct marketing program. It's an artificial intelligence marketing program handled by GSLI. We provide the emails to go out to these companies, and they provided a list of several thousand businesses that fit our profile that we did, and we send out about 150 of those a month. So as we have someone that expresses interest based on those emails, we respond to those as well. We're continuing to work with the New Mexico Partnership. In fact, I was due to be in Las Cruces today and tomorrow to meet with some site selectors, but I canceled that because of the meetings tonight. But we're continuing to work with the partnership and responding to the leads that they generate, and having conversations with site consultants that they arrange for us. And then hopefully this next year we'll be able to participate in sales missions and fan tours and trade shows. Of course, the other thing that we've identified this year is the opportunity to support local projects as well. And you'll notice on that page, the opportunity to develop a community kitchen. We have looked at the commercial kitchen in the Knights of Columbus building. And it's suitable for a number of things. The location, of course, is perfect. Would be a great storefront right on Main Street. Interestingly enough, when I was over visiting with Alan Porter at Paulitas on Monday, we talked a little bit about this project. If anybody knows how to run a commercial kitchen, it's Alan. Of course, he's got his hands tied right now in terms of getting his business up and running, but he said, I'd really like to get involved in the community, and if I can assist with that project, I'd like to do that as well. And then we talked about it at the EDC meeting on Tuesday. Mary Beth Bush was there from Mesa Lands, and they said, we'd love to participate in that project too. So there are opportunities for us to work on some of those local projects, and I'll list a few of those also on that page. One of the things I want us to consider this year is adding retail attraction. Historically, we have not tried to recruit retail businesses, and there are a couple of reasons for that. One is that we don't want to compete with existing businesses, so we have to be careful about that when we do that. Second is that really, in terms of the state level, there are no incentives for attracting retail businesses. Now, there was an amendment to LEDA that was passed by the legislature, and some of you may remember last summer that Clovis actually went out to vote to add retail to their LEDA ordinance so they could attract retail into the Clovis area. We could consider that, but I caution you about that because of one, the fact that that amendment to LEDA also took out the non-compete clause. And so we might end up competing with existing businesses, which again, I think we have to be careful about. But that said, I think there may be some opportunities for us to position ourselves to attract some more retail. It's been kind of interesting because I've had a couple of calls from some companies that have been actually into Concuri. And they call me after they'd already been here and they look to see what kinds of buildings we have available. I had one company that called me on Monday and they were looking at the Alco building and the Kmart building. And so we'll see if anything pans out. I think in terms of trying to market to the retail industry, we'll have to find ways to show them this is a good place to be. And I think some of the quality of life things that we're talking about trying to do in the community are those kinds of things that we need to market. Certainly the citywide fiber is something we need to promote. And so we can have the opportunity to do that. I did have a gentleman in my class at the Economic Development Institute in April for Oklahoma University from Laredo, Texas. He's very involved in the International Council of Shopping Centers. And he said he'd love to introduce me to some of the businesses that participate in the Southwest Region group in terms of that particular retail organization. So I think there's some opportunities out there. So I'd really like to see us explore that and add that this next year. Supporting existing business, we've talked about the roadmap to create bridges. There are a number of projects there. We finished up our community meetings in Fort Sumner last Friday. So we're now looking at what our priorities going to be on that roadmap to create bridges and support existing business. Of course, we've had some challenges with San Miguel and Nora and Colfax counties because of the wildfires. And as an organization, the Northeast Economic Development Organization is trying to assist them in any way we possibly can. I did have Tim Hageman. You guys know Tim. Tim was here on Monday. And we went to visit with Alan about his JTIP application. And Tim has relocated to Raton for now. But a couple of the other folks that are in our group from Mora have now been able to go back to Mora. So I hope that the smoke and the haze is not too rough on them, but they're trying to regain a foothold there. So the Create Bridges roadmap, I think, has provided us some opportunities to assist local businesses. And then on the back page of the report that I gave you, I just mentioned a couple of these things. We are working to develop build-to-suit proposals for prospective new businesses. We're actually looking through our statewide Economic Developers Association to draft legislation to allow pre-permitting for targeted industries on selected sites. And that would speed the process for a business that's looking at locating in the community. We do need to look at developing a revolving loan fund or some kind of financial tool that can address construction loans and retail loans. Those projects are not eligible for LEDA, again, unless we make an amendment to the use of retail for LEDA. And that would require, by the way, a vote in the public to approve the use of funds for retail. We are excited about the fact that Department of Workforce Solutions has amended their contract now with ACT. So again, we have an unlimited use of WorkKeys assessment tools in terms of workforce development. And the last 3 years, it's given me a lot of heartburn because there was really limited access to those tools. But in terms of providing skills assessments of individuals in the community and providing that data to prospective businesses, that's a big deal. So we're happy about that. We do need to conduct a labor shed study and employer workforce surveys. And I've been talking to Mary Beth Bush at the college. We're going to try to collaborate on getting a couple of those things done. We're going to continue to partner with Mesa Lands on economic development projects like Paulita's and like the meat cutting program that they're developing at this time.
Where is Paulita's located?
It is at the Armory.
Okay,
They're using the commercial
Yeah.
kitchen at the Armory,
yeah, the one on 11th Street. That's not, yeah, right,
and they're using the gymnasium actually
okay.
for part of their manufacturing facilities as well. I did add a couple of things here, just wanted to mention to you. Excel Energy.
Get down to those 9 and 10.
Excel Energy has a program related to electric vehicles. Mark and I have talked about this. They have a really good planning program so communities can plan for that for the future. And it makes sense for us, particularly in terms of the tourist traffic. So we want to explore that with them. And then the last item on the list, and some of these projects similar to this are the kinds of things that we'll add as we go along this year. But we've been working with Rebecca Cook at the Mexico Environment Department in terms of doing some cleanup work at the old truck stop on the west end of town. They actually have some funding coming down later this summer. And so we're working with the owner of that property to submit an application to EPA so we can access some of that funding.
Has she gotten permission yet to tour the facility?
The attorney in Albuquerque is working on that as we speak.
What do you mean, the truck stop over here?
Yeah, the old one out there. she's-
Yeah, from the tax roll for auction.
Right, on June the 14th. So she's trying to get in there to see what she can do with the environmental. So,
Yep. So, those projects are, those are community development projects and it's quality of life projects. And so we're going to continue to work on those. I'm happy to answer any questions.
anybody have a question they want to ask right now?
I do have. So, Mr. Vanderpool, I'm seeing here, you're requesting a 4-year contract in the amount of $58,000 per year with the added benefit of the rental, which would come out to about $500 a month, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm still bad at math.
That's okay.
That does equal $272,000 over the 4 years, correct?
Mhm.
That's what we're requesting.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Give us an example of, you say, working with an existing building, business. Which business have we worked with here now?
Well, I don't like to name businesses,
Well-
but if you saw that sheet, there are about 7 that are listed there.
With the mobile?
And in some of those businesses, we're helping them to try to secure financing for those businesses. That's the major requests that we have in terms of trying to help those businesses.
And you've done this in the past. Have you ever kept a database on which ones have been successful and which one has gone under or anything like that?
I do have that. I did not bring it tonight, but I do have
That'd be
that.
good to know because, I know-
Particularly in terms of the use of LEDA.
Yeah, yes, definitely, yeah. And you said recognizing tourism development and working, expanding its accomplishment. And that has, in what way are you looking at that, or have you worked with that?
We're working with the Outdoor Recreation Department of the State Economic Development Department in terms of trying to promote outdoor recreation. Our primary focus with outdoor recreation is to look at the manufacturers of outdoor recreation equipment. But I think it comes hand in hand in terms of the ability to attract tourists as well.
Madam Mayor. So the last time we were here was last year, correct?
Correct.
We did approve a one-year contract and we're
Correct.
back here.
Mhm.
So with that, we received one update, correct? If I
Mhm.
remember correctly, we received one update, was just a few weeks ago?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You hear on number F, it says the city shall provide monthly reports to the providers regarding the status of the fund available through the local economic development gross receipts tax.
Yeah, that's what we would like to have. We have not had a report this year.
Okay, yeah. Bring it before the contract. I know. So what are some of the biggest business you brought up this year? Or that you thought was a very accomplished thing that you did within a year?
I think the main thing that we have done is we've been working with putting together existing business programs. And I think more important to that is our work with GSLI in terms of actually generating leads. We did not have a good source of leads of projects prior to this year. The challenge we have, and that's why the third bullet there is so important in terms of building capacity to compete for those jobs. We have to work on build-to-suit proposals. Certainly in terms of the buildings, the only building we've got really that we can market is the broom factory. And a lot of businesses, we've shown that building to a number of businesses. They want something more modern. And so it's really hard for us to compete if we don't have buildings like that. So that's why the build-to-suit proposals is one of the few options we've really got in terms of buildings. We need to look at the permitting issue because that's a problem all over New Mexico. We need to look at our workforce in terms of the information we provide to a prospective business. And that's why the workforce assessment tool is so important for us. We did a workforce development presentation to the board on Tuesday. So we're going to continue to work on that and partner with the college on workforce development. So some of those issues are things that we just have to address if we're going to be able to compete for projects.
Right. Well, thank you, and we're not gonna get to streets right now because it's time for the commission meeting. So we need to adjourn the work session.
I wanted to talk about streets.
Well,
I did too.
we all do.
Come on, over here.
We can talk about streets.
Madam Mayor, I need a break.